Hey there, folks. Welcome to another installment of the OU Insider post-practice blitz. Sooners making preparations to head down to the Plains for their very first matchup with Auburn as SEC foes here in 2024. Oklahoma coming off a loss to Tennessee, 25-15 in Norman. Of course, Auburn coming off a 24-14 home loss against Arkansas. And to lend some perspective from the Auburn side, we have none other than Jake Crain, host of Crain and Company from the Daily Wire. Uh, Jake, J-Boy, however the folks know you, you're the man. We appreciate you jumping on with us.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Look, I come from a middle class family. No, I'm just kidding. No, no, look, I love hopping on with you guys. It was great to see you, Parker, and the rest of the crew at SEC Media Days. And it's we're so excited Oklahoma's part of the SEC. You know, like we talked about earlier, you guys are as nuts as all of us, so you fit right in the asylum. We'll sit there and eat Jello and hear voices together. So it's gonna be interesting in Jordan Hare on Saturday. I know we're gonna get into it, but two teams offensively that are trying to find their footing in kind of different ways, though, I would say.
Yeah, but the I should say a definite similarity there in that both of these teams have made a quarterback change. Auburn has kind of waffled on theirs. Oklahoma, Brent Venables walked into his coach's show Monday and he was decisive about it. Of course, we saw the switch made mid-game last Saturday, Jackson Arnold to true freshman Michael Hawkins. Man, I guess the question is, Jake, how many points do you think get scored in this game between these two offenses in their current states?
Well, if just offensively, if we're not talking overall, pick sixes, which it could happen on both sides this way, special teams and so forth. When I look at how both coaches are going to approach this, when you look at Hugh Freeze, what has killed Auburn is they don't make like middle of the road mistakes. They make catastrophic mistakes offensively. They're like the NASCAR driver that leads all the way into the last lap, but always crashes into the wall on that last lap. So none of it really matters. It'd be great if Auburn could just like jump a false start one time or just overthrow somebody down the field just once. That's not how it happens. And then if you look at, so I think they're going to protect, even if it's Peyton Thorne, a guy with experience. Hugh Freeze talked about limiting the shot plays, keeping the RPO stuff, and maybe that will eliminate some of the turnover problem. But it is a conservative way of going about it offensively, which typically doesn't yield a lot of points. Then on the Oklahoma side, you're starting a brand new quarterback, another young guy going on the road in a very hostile environment, which regardless of how good or bad Auburn is, Jordan Hare is always a hostile environment for the
Mhm.
opponent. So you look at the amount of changing that offense is going to have to do when you hear what Brent Venables has said about kind of the unorganization of it or disorganization of it, especially at the goal line early in that game against Tennessee. So I don't think you're going to get anybody offensively that is able to score probably more than two touchdowns. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. This game, to me, probably going to be in the low 20s. And that's more because of the conservative mindset that I think both offenses will go into this game with. Because, Parker, I don't think a lot of people realize most teams don't win games, teams lose them. And I
Yeah.
don't think either one of these coaches are going to sit here and throw, the whole Dr. Seuss book at a defense with the current quarterback situation on each side.
Do you obviously watched the OU Tennessee game? Um, the, just the change in defensive mentality for Oklahoma. How, from a national perspective, what has that been like from y'all's point of view at this point?
Well, I mean, it's not shocking just because, I coached Division I football for 10 years. You know who Brent Venables is and how
Yeah,
well respected he is, not only schematically defensively, but from a motivational standpoint. And there, to me, I would rather have a simpler scheme and my guys play fast and physical and angry but smart than have some super complex scheme where they're all thinking and you're just putting too much on the birthday cake. So a lot of it was about getting the right personnel in there for Venables. In year one, you just didn't have the guys that could run well enough. I mean, Oklahoma would do a good job, in the box, but if a guy broke, he was gone. There was few
yeah.
guys that could catch him. I know y'all remember that. So I'm not shocked. There's a reason you went from the Lincoln Riley mindset to the Brent Venables mindset, and that's going to pay dividends in the long run to me, even though it seems like USC with D'Anton Lynn has kind of figured out something to make up for what they were missing with Alex Grinch, whether it be at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley or at USC. But I'm not surprised. It's good to see, and you have to have it because Oklahoma has been knocking at the door of winning championships, right? But they haven't been able to win the whole thing because of team balance under Lincoln Riley. Brent Venables may not have the flash and sizzle offensively, and I know it's tough right now to watch what's going on offense and say, hey, we're in a better position than we were under Lincoln Riley. But, football's like gymnastics. It's all about balance, and the teams that win the most can win in the most ways. And that's why I think you got to start talking about Tennessee in a different light a little bit, because now they've shown the ability to go win a rock fight. They can win a track meet and they can win somewhere in the middle, and that's what you want. So Oklahoma, they're searching offensively, but you look at the leadership of Danny Stutzman, and just what that defense now represents. It's been a total narrative change. It's just when you look at the injuries piling up, coming off a huge game narrative wise, from a TV ratings wise, and bursting into the SEC, you get a team like Tennessee at home. How are you able to get back up? But if I know Brent Venables and I know Danny Stutzman, that there's going to be no licking our wounds and feeling sorry for yourself. You want to get back on the horse.
Can you give us some insight, Jake, on just how real Jordan Hare voodoo is?
I mean, look, it's real. The problem is Auburn just players haven't been that good, and they've been poorly coached this year in a lot of important areas. Look, home field advantage is a real thing. A lot of it is communication wise, right? I mean, we can talk about the craziness that has happened, the kick six and the prayer in Jordan Hare. I mean, there's been fires that have started during games, just crazy drunk games all across the board. But it's not going to give you enough to make up for bad personnel and being undisciplined. Auburn's problem right now, and there's been some positives. That's probably the toughest part. You move the ball well, but you always turn it over, which is the worst thing you can do offensively. Defensively, you're playing physical. You're getting some stops, but on the most important downs, on third and long, and when you have to get stops, you do stupid things. You can't have bad personnel and be undisciplined. You can't be unathletic and dumb. You have to choose one. And Jordan Hare, as crazy as it's going to be, and Auburn fans are going to show up, they're going to be loud because that's who Auburn is. It doesn't make up for bad play. It doesn't make up for bad coaching, and that's what they've had so far. So will it help a little bit? Yeah, it always does. In the books, it's worth 2 to 3 points, maybe even more, depending on where you're at. But if Auburn doesn't stop turning the ball over and making stupid decisions defensively, it's not going to matter if they played that at Jordan Hare, Norman, Pluto, Saturn, or wherever. You're going to lose at the end. Because, again, during the play, it's not like anybody's running and they're like, oh, my God, it's so loud in here at receiver. That's not the way it works. It's pre-snap, and a lot of it is preparation. That's why sometimes going on the road can narrow your focus. When I was in it, we used to love playing on the road more than at home because you get the guys isolated. You're all together. You're in unfamiliar surroundings for most of them, so it does bring you closer, and you're like, hey, we have to play cleaner than we've ever played because we're on the road going in hostile territory. And sometimes it makes you play better.
Is that you've lived in that area before, obviously. Your dad played there. You've gone down there, and you said you lived in Auburn, right?
Yeah, look, we moved 11 times in Auburn. My father used to say when he knew where the silverware where drawer was, it was time to move, which is now that I own a house and have a wife and we're about to have a baby. That is so insane, so innately insane, but it's changed so much even since I was down there. So
yeah,
it's the money that's been infused into these college towns that across the board, but especially in the SEC. I'll go home and get lost, which is I feel like Macaulay Culkin.
That's hilarious. Did the hurricane when I'm sure they've been hit before by tropical storms, hurricanes, does it ever really impact that area very much?
Well, we get what comes up from the coast. A lot of times it's not nearly obviously as violent, and once the storm kind of slows down, and gets away from that water. But I'll tell you guys this: it could be raining, it could be lightning, it could be raining fire in the sky. People are going to this game and they're going to be loud. I remember when Auburn played West Virginia. Oh God, I can't remember what year it was. It feels like it's 6, 7 years ago. It was pouring rain and storming, and nobody left, including the students. They just stayed there. It's I think that actually, even if you're Auburn and Oklahoma, you may kind of want some rain in this one. I think it benefits both teams a little bit because it's going to turn into kind of a slot fest of running the ball, and yeah, you can turn it over fumbling, and it does make it harder to throw, but I don't really know how much throwing either one of these offenses want to do. They would love to have their hands for. So if you're an Oklahoma fan that's hoping, hey, the Hurricane's going to kind of lessen the environment, no, 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 no. Hurricane has no effect on what alcohol does to the human body. People are going to be there, and they're going to be loud. I can promise you.
Gosh, I love the SEC.
Isn't it so much better already, though?
Yes.
Can't you just
Love
and
the
again, I
SEC.
love all college football. I want the Pac-8 or whatever the hell it is now to be great. I want the Northeast to love it. I want them to love it in Montana. But it's just something about, look, it's one thing to work for the bank. It's another to work for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
There you go. Jake, one key to victory for Oklahoma, one key to victory for Auburn. What do you think these two teams need to do independently to be able to get the upper hand over the other?
It's stop the run, right? I think for both teams, you've got to put these offenses with shaky and look, I know Hawkins again did some good things against Tennessee, but I think anybody that comes out here and pretends to know if he's either going to go ball or he's going to be a disaster, it's just conjecture right now because the sample size is so small in games. If you stop the run and you put these offenses in third and predictable passing downs where you're able to mix up looks too, that's where you're going to make a lot of your money, and I think that's where you're going to control field position. I would say those are the two keys for each team: stop the run and win the special teams battle, because special teams is football and needs for field position. A lot of people think it's just punt returns and kickoff returns and block punts and making field goals. No, I think the team that downs the ball inside the 20 the most in this game is going to have a massive advantage, not only from a obvious you got to go further to score, but I think it'll make the play calling even more conservative by the offensive coordinators on both sides.
So if you were an Oklahoma fan right now, and somebody was telling you you've got to watch for this player on Auburn's offense, and I think it goes to the flip side on Oklahoma's offense as well. Who would that be? Just because I think both teams are just they're putrid right now, offensively.
Yeah.
So what would you tell an Oklahoma fan? This is the person. If this person's going to make a play, it's going to be this person for Auburn.
Well, look, it's a game of matchups, and this guy really hasn't gone off yet, but he's a matchup nightmare. He's kind of like a stretch five in basketball, and that's Rivaldo Fairweather, the tight end for Auburn. He's a really big-bodied guy. He can high point the ball. He's got typically pretty strong hands. I think the shakiness at quarterback has affected everybody, not just him, but Cam Coleman, the freshman, and not making excuses for him. I mean, there's some balls they should have caught that they haven't. But if Auburn does get down in the red zone and they want to say, hey, what's probably a safe throw here? It's typically in the seam to the guy with a physical matchup because he's too big for a safety and can run, pretty well to put a linebacker on him. So I would say Rivaldo Fairweather for Auburn is a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, the obvious answer would be the quarterback, but everybody and their mother knows that. So watch out for Rivaldo Fairweather. I think they're going to try and get him involved because it's safe passes as well in the short to intermediate game, including off the RPO and off your bluff stuff where, you get split zone where the tight end goes and splits the line of scrimmage to seal the backside and then kind of bluffs off of that. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get a lot of easy throws early.
Last one for me, Jake, and I know you're a defensive guy. What do you think of the RPO as a concept? That's a very popular topic of conversation right now at Oklahoma.
It's the triple option with a pass. Like I think sometimes people overcomplicate it. That's really what it is. I mean, somebody, it's funny. People are like, hey, Navy is kind of running this offense now where you can hand it off, or the quarterback can keep it and fake the handoff, or the quarterback can fake the handoff, keep it and throw it. You're like, dude, that's the RPO. And some people are like, oh, well, it's dumbing down the game. Well, if you can run it right, you're putting me in conflict in 3 different places. That's the whole reason it was designed. And you can make decisions mid-play. It's not like lining up and saying, all right, we got this amount of guys in the box. we want to run power to this side, or we want to run inside zone, or we want to run outside zone. Well, now we got to flip it, or maybe we got to look to the sideline and check and check with me and get a different play, which means they may check and do something different. No, if you run it right, it's very, very hard to stop because, again, if you got a quarterback that can run and you have all the utensils there, right? A good back, a quarterback that can run it, and he can throw it well enough to put whatever edge defender at linebacker, whether it's a nickel, down safety, or whatever, in conflict on the slant. You watch how it's kind of grown from a route tree standpoint, too. There's multiple things that teams can do off of it. If you run it right, you don't have to have this complex offense and do everything because it's going to tell you what to do. All right, hey, I need to give it while I'm holding this backside defensive end that can't run down the play, which takes a guy out of the box, basically. Or if he does, the quarterback can keep it, right? And which puts the safety and the nickel in conflict or whatever backer's there. And then the witchiest stuff is when the quarterback keeps it, makes it look like he's going to run it, so the safety comes up, and then they hit you to the side, or if the offensive linemen are smart enough to not go downfield, which is the hardest part of this whole thing, they can take advantage of you kind of in the intermediate pass game. So, look, it's smart if you run it right, but what offensive system is not smart if you run it right? It's just putting you in conflict on 3 different places at once, and when you do that, you're really upping the chances of the defense screwing it up, and then you can adjust in mid-play. So they're telling you the story during the play. All you got to be able to do is read good.
Yeah, and Jackson hasn't been able to do that, unfortunately.
He hasn't, but and this is look. I don't agree with Joel Klatt on everything, but I did think he brought up some good points. So look, the buck stops with the quarterback. There's a reason he goes home with the prettiest girl and he gets the most blame when it goes bad. That's part of playing the position. It's like the buck stops with the head coach. But it was multiple things I was seeing. Y'all's spacing looked really bad offensively. Not only from a, not being able to set edges in the run game, but from a route combination standpoint, it just, because again, I look at it all through a prism of, defensively to offensively, y'all just didn't look fluid overall. And I think Jackson looked flustered because he realized, oh no, not only can we not run it, but I can't outrun these guys to the edge like I could Tulane and some of these other teams. So yeah, look, the quarterback wasn't good. I thought Hawkins came in and gave you a spark. He's got to take care of himself though. Your ass can't be running around like that, doing all that stuff and make it through the end of the season, especially at your size. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff for the offense to fix. Y'all's play calling a little bit too. I thought Seth was trying to do too much, man. It's like McDonald's. If you're good at making hamburgers, man, hamburgers need to be your thing. That doesn't mean you can't make the McChicken or the McFlurry, but like hamburgers needs to be your thing. It just, I don't know. I think y'all got too cute at sometimes, but Jackson, he didn't play well. And to me, I think it's more shocking that y'all's quarterback got replaced than Peyton Thorne got replaced. I mean, most Auburn fans could have told you that was probably going to be the likely outcome when they didn't go get a guy out of the portal.
Okay, so to that point, I'll fire one more at you before we get out of here. Who do you think it should be, Thorne or Hank Brown on Saturday?
You want the slow death or the quick death? Like here's the problem. I mean, we know who Peyton Thorne is. He's almost 30 years old or whatever. Like this is who you are now. It's sometimes you're going to get some good throws and good decisions, but it's consistency and it's not panicking in the pocket. Say what you want about Hank Brown. He turned the ball over because he made bad decisions. Peyton Thorne panics. Like you can see it in the pocket. I mean, it's like he's doing Dance Dance Revolution with his feet anytime there's any pressure. And you're a senior quarterback. I guess that's not getting at you. I guess that's just who you are. With Hank Brown, I think, one of the interceptions was really good disguise coverage by Arkansas. But again, how can you trust a guy that the first time you trusted him really against a team worth their salt, he broke your trust and turned the ball over, it seemed like every time. So if it was me, Peyton Thorne runs the ball, better than Hank Brown does. I think you got to go with Thorne, but they need to have a package for Sam Jackson at quarterback. I don't think he should be the full-time guy, but as far as a running ability and just giving the defense something else to have to look at or throw a wrench in there, especially on short yardage or goal line or something, I think he needs a few reps because he's got some Hogwarts in him when he has the ball.
Jake Crain and company. our guest. Sorry, Brandon, did you want to throw something in there?
Yeah, I just wanted to, like, do you have a prediction for the game by chance?
I mean, I would
Outside of
say, I
Six
would
to
say I
three.
would predict the offenses are not going to look good. No, I would say score wise.
I think it's a good
And
prediction.
here's the thing. And I don't know, if this holds true for Oklahoma. I mean, I've watched Oklahoma my whole life, but Auburn does this thing where they'll play on both extremes and they'll look really, really bad for a couple weeks and then come out and it'll just be like, whoa, like who is this? Who is this team? And then all the hope will come back in. Everybody will the hope will come back in. We fixed it, right? We fixed it. There's no more problem. The roof stopped leaking. And then next week, all of a sudden it starts raining and the roof pours. So I don't know. You could get that. I doubt it just because I don't think Auburn's personnel is good enough and y'all are so good on defense. But Oklahoma is beat up. I just can't trust Auburn to not blow it right now. I can't. So give me Oklahoma 20, Auburn 17. Again, who knows? It could be flipped. This is a tough game to predict.
Yeah.
But until Auburn shows me they won't blow it, I've got to believe that they will. I mean, it's the choke artistry's been at an all-time high, but Auburn's it's a weird deal, man. Who knows? That's what makes it fun. That's why we love it, and that's why we hate it.
Well, folks, you can check out Crain and Company via the Daily Wire. Follow Jake on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle these days? It's changed.
It's Jake Crain _CRAIN. And it's pretty easy to find. People are either yelling at me or agreeing with me, which I think is the perfect balance.
That is exactly what you're looking for, I would say. Never going to please them all. And hopefully you're never going to piss them all off either.
That's true.
But we appreciate your time, sir. Thanks so much for being willing to jump on. And you have a wonderful weekend watching college football.
Hey, you guys as well. Always love coming on and chopping it up with you. And welcome to the SEC. Welcome to it. Welcome to the show with all the fixins. Appreciate it.
There we go. Click subscribe if you're a Sooner football fan and you want daily content on your team throughout this journey, year one in the SEC. And head over to OUinsider.com for all the insider juice, team information, recruiting intel, all the good stuff. It's all there for you. And we'll see you next week with another installment of the post-practice Blitz. Take it easy, everybody.